Today's lesson, well, it's all about easy. Press-in crusts. Press-in crusts can be the basis for some really delicious desserts. And we're going to show you today apricot cheesecake, chocolate cream tart, and Atlantic beach tart. Surprising and delicious. And we have with us today three lovely students from the International Culinary Center. Abraham, how are you?
Hello.
You're in a 9-month course?
I just graduated actually from the program.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, great. Looking for a job.
Yes.
And you, Maureen?
Yeah, likewise, 9 months, just finished with Abraham.
And Josh?
I'm halfway through the program.
How great. Well, welcome. So nice to have you here. Our first recipe today is for a wonderful cheesecake with an apricot coating and a graham cracker crust. You've all probably made graham cracker crusts, right, in the past? So simple and so easy, and we're going to make the whole cheesecake in a springform pan. So you need 8 large graham crackers. These are made out of a whole wheat flour, and they're the old-fashioned style of graham cracker, and I like to break it up a little bit before I put it in the food processor. But if this takes you more than a couple seconds to make, something's wrong. You should have melted butter, 2 tablespoons. Just put that right in with the graham crackers. A pinch of salt, and 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Much easier than making a pâte brisée. And yet it's not cheating because it's just a different kind of crust. And get it very, very fine. So here's our crust. That's it. Now, we're going to bake the crust, pre-bake it, and here is our springform pan. These were invented to allow you to actually take out a cake that couldn't be inverted. And you have to fit this in there. And it fits right in pretty seamlessly. Very nice. And then I like to put a piece of parchment paper cut to exact size in the bottom. That'll make also an easier release for the actual bottom crust. And just put all your graham crackers right into the bottom.
Martha, is that the most versatile size if I was just going to buy one for my kitchen springform?
Yes, this is a 9-inch. It's pretty big. It's
Yeah.
a big cheesecake. This will give you enough for 12 people. But they come 8-inch, 9-inch, 10-inch. Okay, so I want an even layer just in the bottom. And I like to use the bottom of a cup measure like this to get a flat, pretty crust. By the way, turn your oven on to 350 degrees.
Martha, could you ever push that down too much? Pack it in too much?
Actually, the more compact it is, the easier it will slice and the prettier it will be. So there's your crust. So get this into the 350 oven for approximately 10 minutes. Now we can make the filling. So this cheesecake is made with 4 packages, 2 pounds of cream cheese. So cream those 2 pounds of cream cheese in your stand mixer. Very important to have it at room temperature for easy mixing. Icy cold, it'll take a lot longer to mix. You can add a teaspoon of vanilla, a pinch of salt, 1½ cups of sugar plus 2 tablespoons, and 4 large eggs. You want it lump-free, so just make sure it's very, very smooth. And it gets lump-free better and quicker if the cream cheese is at room temperature. All the ingredients should be at room temperature. Now, baking the cheesecake is another story. I think our most asked question is, why does my cheesecake have a crack in it? And you can say, I don't know, but there are certain things that you should really pay attention to when you're making a cheesecake. The size of the pan with the amount of batter. If it's too little batter, the cheesecake will cook too quickly and the top will crack. Mm-hmm. If it's too high, it will not cook enough in the amount of time that it should be in the oven, and it will be sort of soggy in the middle. So follow the directions very, very carefully, and you'll get a very nice looking cheesecake. Okay, so now just pour your batter right over the crust. You can see it's beautifully smooth. Now you can enhance the mixture with zest of lemon, with a liqueur. We oftentimes swirl jellies or mixtures into the surface of the cheesecake, making a very pretty swirly effect. And I just like to gently shake it like that to even it out. And it's still a little rough, so smooth it with a spatula. There's no air bubbles to speak of. If there are, break them.
I think those offset spatulas are probably what we use most in school.
So useful. Now, many times the spring form will leak. So I suggest, just for safety's sake, wrapping the bottom in a aluminum foil envelope. And just bring this up. And you can sort of catch it on the edge. This will be removed, but it will help keep the crust from getting soggy or water leaking into your springform pan. We're going to have this in a hot water bath because the steaming of the hot water bath will keep the texture you want in your cheesecake. Get that into a deep roasting pan. Have a big kettle of boiling water on hand. I like to take the water to the oven and pour it in once this is in the oven, so don't risk getting any water into your cake at all. And we will put this right here. Pour in hot water. So you're basically forming a steam bath. You can bring the water up about 1/2 to 3/4, no more. 325, 75 minutes. Take the cake out when the center is still slightly wobbly because it will continue to cook. So now to embellish the top, you see how pretty the cake is. It came out of the oven uncracked. Let it cool slowly. And before it starts to cool, it's a good idea to run an offset spatula around the sides. I generally find that the cake cracks in the oven, but it can also crack by contracting as it cools and the cheese sticks to the edge and then the cake pulls apart. But alleviate that by just running an offset around the sides. So the glaze, 1/2 teaspoon of gelatin. This will help keep it from slip sliding away. And 1½ teaspoons of cold water, and just let that dissolve. About a 13-ounce jar of finest apricot preserves. And heat this all together. Add your gelatin, but you want to melt it into the glaze. And then you're going to strain it right over the cheesecake. So I'm going to just pour this. Want to come up and help me? That would be good. If you hold the strainer, I'll pour the glaze. You can move it around a little bit. So pretty.
It smells great.
It has a beautiful color.
Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, that's good. And this gives that professional, smooth, glossy topping that you always wonder, how did they get it so beautiful? And this has to chill for at least 2 hours. And cheesecake like this is best made the day before because it has to chill for about 24 hours before you serve it. So this gives you a beautiful topping. A couple little bubbles, which I will break.
That's something you have to work fast with?
Not that fast. It's not setting so quickly. And it's warm in here. If you were working in the Arctic, I would suggest fast. Okay, so just get that into the fridge, and I'll show you how to unmold. So here we have our chilled, beautifully glazed cheesecake. Doesn't it look good?
Looks beautiful.
And release carefully, slowly. Pull this up. Use a nice big spatula. So here, just lift this cake onto your pedestal. So beautiful. And you can put this right back into the refrigerator if you are not going to serve it immediately or serve it right now. You can, of course, customize the topping using your favorite jams or jellies, but I think the apricot with the golden cheesecake filling is really beautiful. Try it, you'll enjoy it. So here's a chocolate wafer pressed in crust. Really nice to use with a chocolate cream tart. So 35 chocolate wafers. You can actually use store-bought. They're much harder than a graham cracker. So I think, yeah, that's nice. Turns into dirt. 4 tablespoons of sugar. And 6 tablespoons of melted cooled butter. Proportions a little bit different from the graham cracker, which used only 2 tablespoons of butter and a pinch of salt. And the funny thing is, the ground up chocolate cookies act like dirt. They get into everything, so be careful. And this is enough for a nice, thick 9-inch crust. Delicious. So, all done. Oh, just put this right into your tart pan. Scrape out everything. There. And spread that out. You want nice thick sides, and try to actually make it all exactly the same thickness, the sides and the bottom. It is so dark, so beautiful. This would be a nice crust not only for a chocolate cream pie, but also for a, if you like chocolate and bananas, a banana cream pie. Very nice for a vanilla custard cream pie.
Could you make the crusts ahead and freeze them for when you need
Oh,
them?
you can, of course. So now use your little method of pressing with the bottom of a measuring cup. This works so well. And press into the sides. And your oven is preheated to 350 degrees, and it will bake for 15 minutes. Very easy, very neat. Actually, a little bit easier to manipulate than the graham cracker. So get that right in.
And it was on a tin with the rack on it as well.
Yes. So now for the delicious dump and stir. I hate that, but I'm going to say it again. Dump and stir method of making crème pâtissière. This is a chocolate crème pâtissière, really. And it's all in one pot. So no tempering, no belaboring. First 4 large egg yolks into 2.5 cups of milk. Separate the eggs. And I'm saving the whites, of course, for meringues, for dacquoise, for pavlovas. And so break up your egg yolks. And 1/4 cup of cornstarch. This is what adds the stabilization and allows you to bring this to a boil without curdling the eggs.
So I'm allowed to do this at my next class then, when the chef asks.
Definitely. And 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. And your best bittersweet chocolate, 4 ounces, cut into small little nibs. So right onto a medium flame. Bring this to a boil and cook for approximately 2 minutes. Don't leave the stove.
I can't believe it's in one pot. It's
one pot.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's so great. And we're making curds like this too now. We don't incorporate the butter at the end any longer. It's all done in one pot. So there, that's 2 minutes. Oh, I wanted to show a secret for those of you who don't have really strong forearms. If you get pots that have nice long arms, you hold a pot like this and rest the end of the handle on your forearm like that. You can lift pretty much anything if you have that leverage. And I'm going to add bourbon, like 1/2 teaspoon, just to give it a slightly different flavor. It smells good. Can you smell it?
Yes.
So now we're going to just put it in a bowl just to cool it. See how nice?
Yes.
Much faster than the old method. When I talk about old method, you would bring the milk to a boil, and then you would temper the eggs, beat them in a separate bowl, then cook them very, very carefully. And another little secret for cooling quickly is to use a little fan like this, blow on it a little bit. You ever do that?
For our chocolate work.
That's
Cooling
right.
chocolate.
Yeah, little fans, yeah.
Yeah.
So now just pour your custard right into the shell. It should be just enough. That looks so beautiful. And this is like the best chocolate pudding, only much fancier. Make sure that you give yourself at least 4 hours for it to set in the fridge, but it's better overnight. And we're going to actually top this with a whipped cream so it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. Squiggle it around a little bit. Put a piece of plastic wrap right on the surface. There, right into the fridge. So now the whipped cream for the top, approximately 1/4 cup of confectioner's sugar in 1 cup of whipped cream. Just
And you just whip by hand for whipped cream.
Not all the time. Just show off. So you know the little tip about adding a little bit of liquid heavy cream if you've whipped your cream just slightly too much? Just add a little bit at a time and stir in, and it just comes right back to life. Nice. So now this is what's going to go on top of our gorgeous tart. Spread this all over the top. The chocolate is very nice and firm. The cream is looking good and smooth and glossy. So just spread this. I like to go just to the edge of the chocolate filling, not onto the crust. And it's nice to be able to turn your tart when it's on a pedestal like this. You want it to be pretty even so that every slice gets an equal amount of cream. So as a garnish for the top of the lovely chocolate tart, you can just take a block of chocolate like this, use an ordinary vegetable peeler like this. If the chocolate is too cold, it won't curl, but if it's the right temperature, and you can soften it a little bit in the microwave. But it works wonders, and you can get nice decorative pieces for the top of your tart. And you don't have to go through the whole process of melting the chocolate and scraping it on the metal tray. So now just mound these beautiful chocolate curls on top of your tart. It's like festive without a lot of work. We cheated on the crust, we cheated on the chocolate cream, we cheated a little bit on the whipped cream because I over whipped it, but we solved that problem by adding a little cold cream to that, and we certainly cheated on the chocolate curls.
There'll be enough left over for snacking.
Of the curls, oh, you can save these, keep them in a cold place. Yeah, that's so beautiful. And here you have it, chocolate from top to bottom. What could be better? Enjoy. We're making a very delicious pie, which is really going to be baked in a tart shell for easy slicing, using a saltine crust. This is a popular North Carolina pie found in beachside towns, and saltines are the basis for the entire pie or tart. Use 4 ounces for your crust. The filling can be made out of lemon or lime, and it is delicious and easy. My daughter calls this a junk pie, just because it's too easy to even believe. So grind your 4 ounces of saltines, pretty fine. And we've tried it with coarser crumbs, but it's hard to slice. A stick of butter, just at room temperature is fine.
Do you use unsalted butter?
I always do. I bake with unsalted butter. And in fact, it's pretty much what I use in my house. Every now and then I crave a little bit of salty French butter. 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. And you don't have to add a pinch of salt because you have saltines. So there you have a very simple, just a couple second crust, right? It just turns out really crunchy and delicious. Now, have you made this crust before?
I have not.
Have you?
Looking forward to
Have any
it.
of
No,
you?
I haven't.
Oh. So another nice little thing for you to have at home. And if you have a bakery ever, this would sell out every day because it's so good.
Speaking of a bakery, could you make any of these tarts in, mini forms?
Oh, sure, all of them. They could be pressed into small tart pans, and as long as you can figure out how to remove them. Even tart rings are good. So we're going to spread this out evenly, and we want the crust to come all the way up the sides. I'm starting with my fingers, and I'll press in with a 1/4 cup measure.
Does that seem as easy as the cookie crust?
It's pretty much the same. This might take a little bit more finessing. For the sides, you don't want the sides to crumble when you remove the tart from the pan. So the crust is pre-baked. Now notice I'm holding this finger right at the top so I can keep a nice edge, but I'm really using pressure here to compress the crust. Very nice. But if you're doing a barbecue or a cookout, this is a great pie for that. Very easy. Okay, so that looks good. That will bake nicely, 350 degrees for 18 to 20 minutes or so. So now the shell is out of the oven. Look at the nice color it gets. And that is all salty saltines. I just love it. Now the filling is so easy. It's one 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. So very similar to a key lime pie. And don't ever keep one of these opened in your refrigerator, because there is nothing better when you crave a sweet than a big tablespoon full of cold condensed milk. Have you ever tasted that out of the fridge?
And I love it in my coffee too.
Oh, you like it in your coffee?
Not every day.
No, but
Special
it's
occasions.
but they use that in Thailand
Yeah,
for
we're
the
just
Thai
in Southeast
coffee.
Asia, yeah.
Yes, with so good. Half a cup of lemon juice or lime juice. And I have one of my beautiful Ponderosa lemons right in front here. I often use the juice from these for cooking. And we just picked this in the greenhouse. It's the citrus greenhouse here at the farm. And it's an oddity, and people think, oh, you can never use that. It's beautiful. I'll just show you what the inside looks like. It's beautiful if you cut the top off like this. Look at the juice.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous? Just smell the fragrant juice of that lemon.
Oh, that smells delicious.
Isn't that nice? And it's very, very juicy.
It's amazing.
Not too strong either.
And that would be great in a lemonade?
Oh, it's great. Well, it's great in this too. Here, I take that back again. We'll maybe garnish with little pieces of this, but you can use the peel for candy, citrus. Use the juice for lemonade or anything. I use it for mixed drinks too, for delicious margaritas.
A lot of margaritas.
Yes. Hard to squeeze though. You have to cut it into many pieces to put it through the press. Add 4 large egg yolks to the filling. Now mix this well with a whisk. It's creamy and lovely. So this goes right into your shell. This is going to bake again at 350 degrees for 16 to 18 minutes until the filling is set. And I'm cooking this right on a baking sheet because it's so much easier to transport. If you made a mistake and pushed the bottom up, a mess. So get this into your 350 degree oven, set your timer for 16 minutes, then check. So now with softly whipped cream, just dollop it all over the top of this beautifully chilled and baked filling. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's almost a shame to cover it with whipped cream. You could slice it prior to putting the cream on it, but if you want to make a presentation, this certainly does it. You could dollop the whipped cream on after you slice it. I did say this would be great for a barbecue, only if you have an air-conditioned porch or something to keep the pie on until you're ready to serve it. Pretty though, don't you think? For a chunk pie. And then use the back of the spoon just to maybe. And the last thing, a sprinkling of flaky sea salt. Oh, and it'd be really pretty if you put the Ponderosa lemon on your, yeah, that looks really good. So this is certainly an easy to make, quick to make dessert, but it's worth serving at your next gathering. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you students for attending today. It's really nice to have had you here. Good luck with your new jobs, and we'll see you next time on Martha Bakes. Snip off the end of a pastry bag. Insert the coupler base, then place your pastry tip over the base of the coupler. Screw on the outer ring to secure. Fold the top over into a cuff. Fill the bag halfway with frosting. Push the frosting upward to get rid of air bubbles. Twist the top of the bag to close. You may find it easier to secure it with a rubber band or a binder clip.